Welcome to the Jaden show. I hope you've had a wonderful week. Mine's been all right, a bit damp here in the Caribbean, but it's been lovely and fresh. I hope it's been really nice wherever you are and not too cold unless you're up in Canada and certain parts of the US where I guess it's bloody freezing at the moment. But anyway, I hope you're doing all right, and I hope you're nice and cozy now and sitting back with your cup of tea ready to watch the show. I'm going all the way to Australia today to meet musician, singer, songwriter SWEENEY. You are going to love his stuff, but I think we should check out one of his songs and his videos first. This is called Daddy-O. Super cool. Let's go and meet the man behind the music, this week's very special guest, the amazing SWEENEY, everybody. SWEENEY, all the way from Australia. How are you, mate?
I'm good. Just getting into the day here, waking up. I mean, I woke up a while ago.
I'm a little bit in your past, so I'm starting to fade now because it's the night before. It's really weird. I live in Mexico. Not one person has asked me if I'm from England. 99% of the people I met go, "What part of Australia are you from?" And 2 people, "Where am I from?" Russia. But yeah, I don't know why I always get confused as Australian. I don't take that as a bad or a good thing. It's just, I think I sound like London, I know.
I don't know. We still carry our colonial past very heavily here, so there are lots of English accents around.
Oh, really?
And well, but like if I go anywhere, if I've been to the States, or particularly in Canada, people often just assume I'm from the UK. So, you know, I don't think I've got a very strong Australian accent in that broad sense. I think I sort of have a few, I don't know. It's hard to know, really. I have a Dutch mother, so you know, I think I maybe picked up a little bit of that accent in there. Who knows? We're all kind of a mixture of things.
Everything, right? But yeah, I remember
Yeah.
being in Canada and everyone there asked me if I was from Australia.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, if through the interview you go, actually, Jaden, you do sound Australian. Or, no, Jaden, then just let me know.
No, I would have looked for. Yeah, I would have assumed you were in the UK somewhere.
Yeah, see.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's enough about my accent. Let's talk about you. So,
Okay.
you are. I love how you kind of state that you've been making songs to stay alive since the age of 5.
Mhm.
I would like to go a bit deeper into that statement, if you don't mind.
Well, it's pretty much, yeah, true. I feel like I continue that as a little manifesto. You know, like I've been making lots of music. I mean, kind of music publicly since my teens. And, you know, people often ask me about, you know, why I keep doing it, because, you know, it's not necessarily being, you know, whatever it means to be a successful musician or to be sort of like a popular musician. And so, you know, friends around me just sort of fall away and don't continue to make music. So as they get older. And so I often thought about why I keep doing it. And I actually wrote a song last year, which is called Writing a Song, which is really about that idea of why I keep making music. And it really is just a sort of mechanism for survival. Like if everything else falls away in my life, then I've always got songs. I've always got music in there. I can always make music no matter what. Yeah, and you know, music has always been more reliable than other people. It's certainly been more reliable than many things. Yeah, so that was when I was trying to think of. I only wrote that recently, actually, and I was trying to think about this idea of a bio or what it, because people often ask me for bios, and you know, they're often quite a strained like thing to write, because you know, you're either trying to write achievements or things that you're doing or things that you're currently making. Yeah, whereas, you know, to me that's the simplest way of putting it. You know, it really is just there. Yeah, survival.
I mean, like, it's not been the most. There's been some phenomenal. I've been singing for 32 years, and even like professionally, and longer than that, unprofessionally. I'm pretty unprofessional, but I couldn't stop it even if I wanted to, and it's not my favorite thing. Like, I feel sick before shows. I don't like being judged. I don't like people talk too loud when I'm singing, because obviously they don't like me, and I'm so insecure with parts of the. So it wouldn't have ever been a career of choice, but I cannot.
Yeah.
Like, I posted something recently that my relationship with Mike, as in the Mike, has been my longest relationship to date. We've been through ups and downs. We have fallen out and not spoken for a couple of years, but we are still always together 30 odd years down the line.
That's it. Like, totally. Yeah. That music is my boyfriend thing. I really liked that. I think that was that's a song, and I'm trying to remember now who wrote it, and it's just left my mind. Anyway, it'll come to me. But yeah, I liked that idea of, it's true, that relationship, and it's an intimate relationship, isn't it? I mean, a microphone it's a raw thing that you use to communicate with the public, with people, whether it's live or in recording. And it can be a scary thing. I find the press record, you know, that's the scariest thing as well, like committing to something. Yeah, as a document. Although I prefer recording to performing live now anyway. It's sort of, yeah.
So when did it all start for Baby Sweeney? So was you the age of 5 when it all kicked off? When you thought? I want to
Yeah.
famous.
Yes. I think it was probably that young. I mean, I probably used 5 to stay alive just because it rhymed, but it probably was that young. I mean, I always recall pretending at a very young age that I was making music or recording albums. Designing record sleeves were always part of my childhood. I wish I'd kept them actually. But yeah, so I think
Retro and
it
indie.
was, yeah, but yeah, could actually publish them. But yeah, so it's always been there as a kid. And I sort of feel like I'm still doing the same thing as I was as a child, like kind of pretending to do it. Yeah. And that's a nice feeling actually. If I can find money other ways, then it's okay that I can still be pretending to be a musician and making music.
I think the pretending is the nicest part when you are kind of thinking, shit, I hope someone tips me, or I hope I get paid this weekend because I've got to pay my TV, whatever it is, and I've got to buy food. It becomes, it took all the joy out of it for me. It's like I'm now singing out of desperation, whereas actually it's the only thing that I really love. So, being able to afford to live through other ways has always been it's always kept music. I could be halfway through a set and I'm just thinking, you know what, I can go home at any point. If I don't like it or they don't like me, I'm gone. I ain't, and I'm
Yeah,
else is having that freedom to be able to enjoy the art has been. I mean, there's been times where, and even now to a certain degree, I'm doing it because I need the money, but I won't starve if I didn't do it.
yeah.
Makes sense.
Are you not to obviously ask too many personal questions of you, but I mean, are you managing to make money or any money through music? Is that possible for you?
I
No.
so only from different venues that I sing in and people
Hmm.
tipped and hiring me for events, and
Yeah.
I'm not making. I don't think any musician makes anything from downloads anymore.
Oh no, God no.
So
No.
literally, it is for live events and just kind of having your residencies or people tipping.
Yeah.
But that's it. But I live
Yeah.
so my tip, which is probably all right for me here, it would be not even £1 in England.
Mm.
So it's very different. I think it would be another story if I was trying to do what I do in the UK now.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it is difficult. But like I said,
Yeah.
I, I stopped having expectations quite a few years ago because expectations, and like, I really have done the rounds. Do you know what I mean? Like celebrated heads of agreement with major record labels, and done
Mm.
this, supported them, and travelled here, and and it all falls flat on its ass afterwards. You know,
Mm.
because it's a really fickle industry, and it was just constant. I was very sensitive, so I always took everything personally. I'm not good.
Yeah.
I'm not, fit enough. I don't sing well. I'm not a good writer. People don't like me. All these things. It was never about, we're just maybe, I don't know. I mean, like even now, when I recorded the song a couple of years ago, record companies were like, "Love the song, love the approach, love the video. If you could just change that hi hat," and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Oh, mate, you can do it. If you want something different, this is what I'm presenting. If you want something
Yeah.
different, need to get it, produced how you want it to sound." Oh no, you've got to give it to us literally as we want to hear it. I'm like, okay, I'm all right. Don't worry.
Yeah. I've experienced, yeah, those kind of things are weird. Like, I mean, Submit Hub is something that I've used, and I know many other people have used a lot of in the past. And the feedback or the ability to get onto a Spotify playlist or whatever, submitting songs, and then getting critical feedback, whether it's um a comment upon the production or the way the song is structured, or people throwing the top line kind of comment at you or whatever. It's I had to stop doing it because after a while it was becoming too soul destroying to submit.
Yeah. And probably half the people have never written a song in their life.
Well, that's right. Yeah, they just,
You
yeah,
take them a
I
Cure
guess
cover, they might love something from the Cure, but wouldn't like anything from Olivia Newton-John.
that's, well, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so that's what I quite like. Even with everyone's like, oh, you know, you should do the competitions, you should get on The Voice, you should do this. I got headhunted for one competition, and they made a complete fool of me on TV. And
Oh God.
I just thought it's not, you know, like I got ridiculed by someone who shagged a comedian. That's how she got famous. I'm
Yeah.
just, like, you know, like, I know my flaws. I know I'm not the best on any plane of existence, but I enjoy what I do. And, you know, I think with a lot of these things, when that enjoyment starts disappearing, because you can't stop it anyway, it becomes soul destroying, as you said. So you have to find that
Yeah.
interesting. I'm singing because I like it. I'm singing because I want to. That's it.
Yeah. And that should be it, really, you know.
It has to be it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'll be 70 and doing the same.
Yes. I hope I'm 70 and still doing it. I mean, that's my, you know, I hope I'm 70. I mean, when I'm, you know, I'm making music. One of my heroes is Scott Walker, and you know, he sadly died a couple of years ago now. I think he was 77. I don't know if you know him, but yeah, he was making the most extraordinary music into his 70s, probably the best music he'd ever made. Um, and yeah, I always take inspiration from people like him who, you know, were, I guess, you know, he was a pop star in the 60s with the Walker Brothers.
Oh, okay.
And then, yeah, and then,
Yeah.
you know, he became completely disillusioned with the whole thing. And then, you know, I think went to a monastery. And then, you know, basically even in the 60s or late 60s, he started to really experiment with music and really push the production of his music. And then, yeah, in his later years was producing some of the most extraordinary, challenging music, you know, I'd ever heard. And, you know, and I thought, wow, you know, that's a really great uh, hero to have.
It's quite interesting how so many people, you know, that you look up to, that you respect, that, you know, your influences at some point are very disillusioned by the industry that you followed them for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I certainly have, a bit like probably you have in the same way. You know, you've touched different aspects of the industry, whatever that is. I mean, it's such a strange concept. What does it mean?
Yeah.
When we're all making music, so we're all part of this thing, this, you know, industrial music complex. But you know, most of us are really not ever part of it. You know, we're not kind of really integrated. And because music is such a free for all kind of, which is great, you know, with technology and the way that people can access it, it becomes, yeah, easier obviously to make music and to put music out there, but not necessarily easy to find the audience or to or to capture someone's, you know, listening ears, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if you want to do something, then, you know, I released a song again like about a year ago, and people liked it and said you don't have enough YouTube followers.
Yeah. Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
not,
That's the thing, like the followers thing, the Spotify listeners, like getting into festivals, has all been based now on algorithms and numbers, and not, I can't see it being based on the music. I mean, clearly people want you to have an audience if they're going to invest in you, but my goodness, it's, yeah.
they're going to invest in you. The more that it's quite interesting. I was in a pop group back in the 90s and touring with another pop group back in the day, and they were lovely. They were like, you know, pretty guys, beautiful girls. And then I was in a two boy, two girl group. We were doing pop R&B. They were doing a bit more cheesy pop. We would go out and give out flyers before the show, in whatever club or, you know, event we were doing, and the kids would rip up their flyers and throw them back at them when they were on stage. And we were like, they're really lovely, but I just don't think they're ever going to make it. No one likes them. But because of the investment in them, one of the top selling pop groups back in the 90s.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Multi-million. Well, not that they're multi-millionaires, but they sold millions and millions of singles, millions. So
But now I'm intrigued.
I'll tell you afterwards. They put in a collection, but the kids, the listeners, didn't like them. And their first, we went on doing pop R&B, kind of Take That meets, I don't know, Eternal or something like that.
Yeah.
And because it was two pretty girls that were great dancers, and the kids loved it. It was cool music, you know. But yeah, it was just really weird. But it is the investment, right? But I think now, I mean, I go from back in the day where everything you recorded stuff on reel to reel and all this kind of stuff, you know, like that wasn't easy to do, and you couldn't have a little home setup with that. It was, you know, crazy expensive and crazy complicated. Whereas now, I can get out for a pee and come back and I've sold an album in Ethiopia.
Yeah, right. It's so true.
It's really bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned, I mean, the recording technology. I mean, I too have, you know, from 4-track tapes through to reel recordings in studios to now essentially just being reduced to, you know, for me, a MIDI keyboard, a microphone, and my laptop is kind of they're my instruments now. I have a bass guitar, but I mean, it's, yeah, when I think about particularly playing in bands where the trouble and the time that it took and the organization that it took to actually record music was more labor intensive and probably better for it, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, that it's interesting to think that now it's kind of really so easy, really, and so accessible to produce music. You know, even if you've never made music in your life, you could make music.
And if you make music topless with a 6-pack, it's probably going to get some.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And maybe, yeah. Yeah.
Do you miss those? Do you miss the, because I said the simple days, I guess it was more simple then, but it was harder work for us as artists. It was, you know, there weren't as many. You had to work triply hard to get a deal or to, you know, whereas like now I can put something out just for the fun of it. I like I like it now because, like I said, I don't have the expectation. So if I make something that's really lovely and I want the world to hear it, I just put it out and see how it goes. I'm not expecting to get any money.
Same.
But back in the day, you know, you knew that if you'd done this and if you'd got signed and if you had a single out, you know, you were actually competing against hundreds of thousands of others and you did it. You know, I don't know, I miss those days of it's, you know, of the excitement of, oh my God, are they going to play a song on the radio, or a friend saying, Jaden, your song's on in this club, listen, you know, and stuff like that. They were amazing, but that doesn't happen now.
No, I mean, I don't know what I miss. I think probably, I guess the particularly here in Australia, like there was a lot of really great labels that existed that were working with bands and working with artists, including myself. And I was living in Melbourne. I live in a city called Adelaide now, but I used to live in Melbourne for about 8 years, and there it was an incredible scene of bands and record labels, and we all kind of got to be around each other and talk, and there was quite a scene. Whereas now I mean all of those people have stopped their labels or either and stopped their bands or moved on or had different lives. I think that's what I mean about why I have to find a reason to explain to myself and to others why I keep making it. But what's that?
Very solitary now.
So yeah, I mean I've always been like that, but it probably in the early 2000s when I was living in Melbourne, it was probably a lot less solitary and much more active. Certainly there was a lot more places to play and perform. But yeah, and you know, to kind of and like the music that I'm making at the moment and this record is really it's called ageism, and so basically it's really talking about that concept even in music, where I suppose, you know, when you reach a certain point, is there any relevance to someone making music if you haven't made it to be making music when you're beyond a certain age, and that could be in your 30s. I'm 52 now, so it's like, have you kind of reached a point where your age determines your shelf life and your ability to even access the industry or any kind of opportunities, all that kind of stuff. And it's not kind of intended as like a complaint against it, because as we just talked about, both of us will do it regardless.
Yeah.
But it's certainly kind of been been sort of a little bit confronting to think of all of the people that have disappeared, and I sort of think of them as ghosts sort of still surrounding me that used to be there, and but are not accessible anymore. And none of that is accessible anymore in terms of people and community, and because we get older and we're all kind of doing things and trying to survive, and of course the world is more expensive and blah 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 blah. And there's a lot going on.
As we get older, we become better. I mean, I've always been like Olivia Newton-John. For me, was my muse. I mean, like, I love that woman to her bones. I met her a few times. She's just as amazing in real life as she is not in real life. And I went to see her. She'd come to England. She hadn't sung in England for many, many years. And I was lucky, like 10, 12, 15 years ago that I got to see her in England. So she was, she must have been late 60s, early 70s then. I think late 60s. That girl done a 2.5-hour show. She belted, she danced, she didn't sit down once. She sounded better than any of her CDs I had at home. Like, she rocked it. I saw Richard Marx as well in concert. I think he's in his late 50s now. I couldn't tell the difference between him and a CD. Like, his voice was like velvet. Like, so I think it's a shame that, I mean, when we're younger, we have more sex appeal, and we can flash things. Now I don't mean to flash them. It's just because everything's hanging from underneath my t-shirt. It's like, but we could get away with the sex appeal then. But actually, my voice is billion times better than what it was in the 90s.
Yeah.
So so I think actually there should be more reason why we can still do it at our age. I'm nearly 51, so we're pretty much the same age.
Yeah. We're the same vintage.
Yeah, we should be doing this.
Yes, and everybody should. I mean, this is what I mean. Like, again, to bring Scott Walker in, and like, I certainly, like, my voice has been influenced by people like him, and even people like David Sylvian. I don't know if like Japan from the 80s. But I mean,
listen to when you were growing up, when you were sitting back as Mini Sweeney, were you kind of this music, or what was the music that was going on around you in your family environment or through school and stuff like that?
I think probably I'm sitting right in front of my record collection, but
vinyl, actually, all my vinyls in England, because it's too humid here to have it. It would warp in like a day and a half.
Well, there's just been a heat wave here, and actually, I'm currently living in a converted garage, and it was so hot in here that I was like really worried. Wasn't worried for myself. I was worried for my vinyl collection. But I'm just sitting next to my ABBA collection. So I was like a good gay boy, I was listening to ABBA as a child.
My dream is to sing with Agneta.
And her new music is beautiful.
Great, incredible. She's a beautiful woman. Still sounds. It's really interesting because, like, when I left England to come to Mexico, everything changed for me. My language, my climate, my culture. Didn't have any friends here. Didn't know anyone here. Couldn't go down the road and said, I went here with for a coffee with my nan when I was 8 and stuff like that. So I had no memories. The only thing that I kept was my traditions and my music. And I remember sitting at home, not in the best space at the time, and listening and going through all the old music, like ABBA, Olivia Newton-John. And all of a sudden, this woman, I don't know if I was in the kitchen, I was doing something, and this woman, I was like, I've never heard that song before. It sounds like Agneta from ABBA. And I came in, and there was this old lady singing. I was like, oh my God, it's her. In my mind, with that voice, she was still how she was in Mamma Mia and Dancing Queen, and but she's same age as my mum.
Yeah.
So
but this is, like, it was great to see the solo record because, again, it's like, I mean, this thing again around age and how people perceive people, and even, and I mean, to stay on ABBA, I mean the Voyage album, like, and the avatars, you know, that were, when I was seeing that I thought, oh, but when, and I was glad that they released footage of them in those suits getting, you know, ready for the recording for
We'll see what they
the
look like.
concert.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, they look great, and they're just like, they are, you know, elderly people, and they're, and the album is, I think, really, really a great ABBA album. I mean, probably not their best ABBA album, but it's certainly like a really good record, and
ABBA
the
album.
songwriting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but I was relieved that we got to see them and got to see them interviewed, and, you know, rather than just like, we're just getting the avatars, because that would have been a bit sad to just think, well, we're just going to get stuck in the 70s.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, again, it was an encouraging moment, thinking, okay, they are, in a way, it was comforting to think, okay, they're still here, they're still around, they're still making music. Then Agnetha puts out a solo record that's even better. Yeah, so for people like us, you know, we're kind of, I guess, happy that
20 odd years left to sing. That's
yeah, totally, yeah.
well,
But
Tony Bennett singing with Gaga until pretty much, you know, a few weeks before he died, and, you know, it's. I think it is, but I say I think now we can maybe. If you look, I was so born in the wrong era. I should be with like Val Doonican, Des O'Connor, Cliff Richard. Like, all, this would have been me. I'm a crooner. I love ballads. I love kind of singing like that. So that would have been a perfect. If I'd been like probably born 15 years younger, I would have been a fucking superstar back in the 70s. I really believe that. But back in the day, it was like, it wasn't. If you look at all the sex symbols of the 70s, like, some of them were really pretty rough. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
weren't
yeah.
muscled, six-packed boys, you know, doing their thing. They were like little paunchy stomachs and kilts and really bad mullets, and, you know, and that was just me, you know. But they were just, but there was like, it was more about the talent then,
Yeah,
you know.
it was
And
songwriting.
maybe it will, you know, if, you know, with whatever's going on in the world, maybe it will kind of turn around. Maybe people will get to a stage where they're just really grateful that, you know, you're still doing your thing for as long as you are able to do your thing.
Absolutely. And there are artists that are making incredible music who you know, are not, you know, don't fit any of those kind of, I guess well, maybe in the 70s and the 80s, definitely, you know, we start, and because of the age of video, I guess we started to see the musician as performer, as the marketing tool. And another favorite artist of mine is Kate Bush, and, you know, to see how she really used the video medium to her advantage and took complete control of her output and how she presented herself. And, you know, she, of course, and now to see her even like use that still in her older years, in different ways, is also completely inspiring. But, you know, there's only certain people like that. I think there could never be another Kate Bush. She's certainly set a path for many people, many women especially, but many other artists, to move forward in the music world. But yeah, to have complete control over your image and how you and then deliver your music output. Yeah, I guess it's possible, you know, doing it independently, but in terms of like that full mainstream, how EMI Records let her do that, because she pushed for it. Yeah,
I think it's amazing that you still got Marie Osmond, Cyndi Lauper, you know, like all these artists that are all still working, they're all still doing it. And there's been, you know, in the last 20 odd years, maybe even a little bit less, there's been such a revival of 80s music. So you've got like The Cure still, you know, doing these rewind festivals, and, you know, Tapao and Kajagoogoo and Duran Duran and all these. It's like, raw, man, when they ended, I remember when ABBA ended, I was distraught. I think it was some of the early 80s. And I was like, I'm never, ever, ever going to see them again. They're my besties. Because I was a very lone, like a bit of a loner as a kid. All I had was my little cassette cassette recorder with my, my 5 or 6 ABBA albums. That was kind of it. And I
Yeah.
remember when they finished, my world was coming to a bloody end. And I kind of thought I never would have expected at 50 years old that ABBA's just released another bloody album. And
I
everyone's
know.
crazy about it. Fucking superb. So you was a bit
Yeah.
of a pop boy back in the day. Has
Yeah.
the music that you that saw you through the beginning of your your launch into music and your desire to become more than just a listener, is that the
Mm.
music you still go back to these days as well? Or has your taste completely changed now you've been more actively involved in a career?
Um, well, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned The Cure because I'm absolutely still very much a Cure listener. I mean, I stopped at Disintegration and kind of didn't really go much further than that, but which a lot of Cure fans, particularly people of my age, did. And it was actually a Cure song, Off the Head on the Door, that got me to into playing guitar. And I I still think of them as a band, particularly Robert Smith and his whole approach to music, as I guess a key for me into music. And definitely, I mean, even though it's contentious to talk about Morrissey and the Smiths, but they were also a massive part of my musical upbringing. And just to sort of thinking about like people from the 80s. I don't know if you saw Rick Astley recently doing the was it Glastonbury? I think at Glastonbury, where his whole concert was the Smiths. Basically, he performed not the entire, but a selection of the Smiths, which I just thought was a genius move because clearly Morrissey's not getting invited onto that bill. And and it was just amazing. And like because Rick really just has that one song that we all know, and he couldn't obviously do more than that, but he just glowed, and it was like watching again someone of this age on stage performing Smith songs was just amazing to me. But it was almost like a kind of affirmation that okay, this person is still with us, and performing these songs which were probably still very controversial to some listeners. Yeah, but so people like the Smiths, the Cure, I mean, I still go back to them constantly. A lot of Australian 80s music that is very dear to me. A band like the Reels, which I don't think many people outside of Australia have ever heard of, but made such incredible pop music, very early experiments with electronic music in pop as well. A band called the Triffids, who probably again, they did spend a lot of time in the UK and became popular-ish over there, like a band called the Go-Betweens, very similar. So those bands to me are still very dear, and I listen to them, and I do think what I thought when I was growing up, when you're younger and you think, wow, people who are much older they just listen to the same old thing, like they're just listening to the Beatles or whatever, or Rolling Stones. Whereas I understand it now. You sort of do.
It's also
hold on.
It takes you back.
Yeah, there's a nostalgia
as well. It's those times, but at the same time, now our bands from back in the day are now releasing new albums, and it's like 40, 50 years down the line is amazing.
Yeah, and artists like Nick Cave, to me are really important, and he's still, making really interesting music, and but I do like to listen to a lot of new stuff, and there's definitely a bunch of artists, contemporary artists who I listen to, but I do end up kind of sneaking back to
good old days.
Yeah.
If you had to pitch, I'm not asking you to, but if you had to place your music in a specific genre, where would you place your music?
I don't know. I think electronic music is the only genre, I think, because everything I've used in my music since I stopped playing in like bands with guitars, has always used electronic instrumentation. So, but it doesn't really fit because people would think of electronic music and they think dance music or they think techno or whatever. In fact, someone referred to me as a techno artist the other day. I'm like, well, I've never made techno music in my life.
Electronic pop indie artist.
Yeah, but I also make ambient soundscape stuff as well, so under another name. And so, but that again, it uses, apart from maybe a cello player that I use occasionally on those recordings, it's all using electronic music. So I'm sort of happy to, but also then it doesn't include my voice. You know, when I say that, people don't, then they think instrumental music or, you know, music that you dance to. Whereas I'm a singer-songwriter as well, who uses a singer-songwriter who uses electronic instrumentation. Maybe that could be one aspect of it, but yeah, I don't know.
But that's good enough for me. That sounds good enough for me. What are you doing at the moment? Music?
What am I doing at the moment?
What's happening for you at the moment?
Well, I am, in terms of music, I am I'm about to release a record under the Sweeney moniker called Ageism. But concurrently, I'm also in my life living a kind of itinerant life in a minivan. So because, you know, as is happening all around the world, we're sort of all part of this housing dilemma, housing crisis, whatever you want to call it. So that's been kind of interesting to have two things happening simultaneously, where I'm still trying to make music, but also trying to find a way to live in terms of a place to live. But work-wise, I work currently as a video designer on theatre productions. I've been working the way I've been making an income actually has been in sound design and composition for theatre and film for the past 10 or 15 years or so. And that's been great as a way to sustain myself and still be able to make my own music that I release as well. So yeah, that's kind of really it at the moment. And just I'm sort of, yeah, in this strange place where I'm not really sure what the future of work looks like for me. And because I have been doing this, but since pandemic times began, as it is for many people, I'm sure for you too, like it's been a lot of uncertainty about what it means to work and where work is and how to draw an income. Yeah, and I've had a really lucky streak, I think, doing what I do in theatre and dance productions, making music. I'm not sure if my time is up or whether at the moment there's sort of like a bit of a drought of work. Yeah, so as we started talking about,
a bit of a state of flux, like not sure where to go or what's happening. Yeah, but
yeah,
if it's more stable for you now, what would you be planning for the future of Sweeney? Or are you planning for Sweeney if things go the way you're planning?
yeah, I don't know. Every time I make a record or I record a song, or even, you know, because I tend to like put out albums, it's sort of a thing I like to do. I always think, oh, this is it. I'm not going to do any more. The last one. And then, of course, I start making more because I think, like a lot of us, every time we put something out, there's a sort of a hope there that something might happen with this one, or, you know, this one might actually, yeah. And certainly, like with the music that I've been releasing off this record, like there's been different kinds of interest. I mean, even us talking now, that's been wonderful, like that we've connected and we're talking, you know, that hasn't ever happened before, obviously. So each time I feel like there's something, and then that gives me hope. So, you know, in terms of making more music or what I plan to do next.
Not being rude, mate, but
yeah.
you're Stop if you wanted to.
What's that? I couldn't stop.
All these bands, this is it, last one. But the universe has a funny way of saying, "Now I've got something planned for you, music."
Yeah, that's right. So
By the short and curlies, it is what you're meant to be doing. Unfortunately, bad luck.
yes, the curse. The curse, which is a blessing. I don't know. It's it's true.
It's double-edged sword, to be fair, but no, it is. But I was, like I said, I think it kind of I think it's really important to have no expectations, because then there's no disappointments. But that connectivity to creativity, I think, is better than therapy, better than anything. It's something that you need to do to exercise your creative demons. Like, I think we would probably go a bit cray-cray if we didn't have that, to be fair.
More so. Exactly. Yeah, more so. That's right. Yeah.
So everything's going. So the future will be more albums, more projects, more videos.
I hope so. Yeah, I mean the videos I've made with Bryn and Jared, the Daddy O one and the Better Man video, they have been incredible people to work with, and again a real surprise for me, because Jared, who's in those videos, we only met maybe a year and a half ago through a mutual friend, and he's been in other videos prior to that. He's a incredible physical circus performer, but more than that as well. And so we've just really connected. Like, he connected to the music, we connected sort of intellectually as well. So I'm hoping actually what will come from, and I'm working on music for a performance piece that he's actually making. So there is that as well in the future. So I'm actually hoping there'll be more work with those two, because they're deeply embedded in the Montreal queer scene there, and that's where those videos came from. And to me, it was just so exciting to see someone else interpret the music that I make, because generally I make my own music videos, or I don't make any. So more collaborations. And yeah, actually, now I'm thinking about it, there are a few things happening. There's a incredible band in Adelaide called Brave Mistakes, and I'm working a lot with the singer-songwriter from that band, Garrett. So there's a few things sort of happening around, which are exciting. And I think when I'm and for me, it's often more exciting when I meet people that excite me or inspire me, and that can be quite a rare thing. So when it happens, on
my own with bloody loads of animals in the jungle in Mexico, it wasn't easy to get inspired by other people. And as you know, especially an artist, it can be, you're the only one on stage, the only one at the airport, the only one in the studio, the only, and it becomes a very solitary experience. So I was like, what can I do? COVID's kicking. Obviously, I can't sing, but I do like talking as much as I like singing. So cup of tea, couple of biscuits, and a good old chat with musicians, that is completely up my street.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it's how you make the connections. And have you found anybody where you are to work with, or?
Not in Mexico, but through one a really lovely guy that I interviewed. I don't know, I can't remember if it was last year, the year before now. It all seems to be just one bloody long year, to be fair. But a guy, artist called Andrew Nolan, he told his producer or something, his record company, about me, and then they got in touch, and a few months later I'd released a track with them under their label Crazy Dog Records, and it was kind of like pop disco. It's funny, I was pop R&B when I was younger, when I was slim, when I had loads of hair and no waist. Now I've got loads of waist and no hair, and
just
this is
embrace it.
I've got bloody choice, mate. So I was kind of doing pop R&B, and then my voice was always a little bit different. So I started to do classical crossover opera, because there was no one. I had loads more piercings then, so there was no one tattooed and pierced singing "Yes and Dorma," in jeans and a t-shirt on stage. So I started to become the bad boy of classical. And then
Oh,
after that, I moved to Mexico with my 30 backing tracks of classical music because I was going to be an English classical artist here in Mexico. And I'll be halfway through Nessun Dorma, and someone would tap me on the shoulder as I'm singing and say, "You got any Whitney Houston?"
yeah.
Okay. Oh, I dance with somebody. So now I'm just the British boy of ballads, even though I do dance and other stuff now as well. And I've gone from something like 30 classical tracks to nearly 700 different tracks that I sing now of all different
Wow.
genres, different languages, different artists, from reggae to opera, from Celine Dion to, I don't know, Oasis or the Beatles and stuff like that. So I think before
Yeah.
I always wanted, and I think the record companies were at fault big time. They were saying, you don't sound black enough. I'm like, well, I ain't black, but you need to sound blacker. I'm like, but I'm a little white boy, and I don't know what that even means, to be fair. So
Yeah.
I was really into Tony Braxton and that kind of R&B pop. And I knew Tony Braxton was very kind of like, "Who do you think I am? Don't you know?" It was very kind of clipped vocal. So I recorded the song, this kind of clipped, husky, voicey vocal. I met a
Yeah.
producer whose song it was, and he went, "Oh no, you're Jaden. I thought you'd be black, man." I'm like, "No, your voice don't suit how you look." I'm like, "Oh,
Mm.
thank God, I don't know what to do." So now, obviously, I play with my voice, and that's been really beneficial. I'm not going to sing Nessun Dorma the way I would sing "I Want to Dance with Somebody." I have to
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
sounds in my voice to be able to go from Bjork to the Beatles to Blur to
Mhm.
Pavarotti and not make people go, "Oh, this is fucked, man. Like, I don't understand what this boy's doing." To actually make it flow, it has been amazing. Like I never thought I would be sitting, in a restaurant on the Caribbean part of Mexico, singing songs that I used to listen to as a kid. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't get
That's
much
great.
money, but I love it.
Yeah.
So, like
Yeah.
that's the most important thing. Like you were saying, it's like I don't have any experience. I would like to get lots of tips. That would be cool as well.
Yeah.
But
But the love's got to be there. Absolutely. You've got to love it. Otherwise,
but
what's
it's
the
fun.
point?
I remember like when I was younger, like we had loads of tips. Like all our fans were like 75% of our fans were like 13, 14, 15-year-old girls with "I love Jaden" banners and stuff like that. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Now most of my fans are kind of 60s, 70s, and 80s, and no banners. Because
Yeah.
our writers has kicked in and they're not quite good at writing. But it's like, but it's really amazing to see those people. If I sing something like "Dancing Queen" or something, and all the
Yeah.
maturer population they're dancing because it's taking them back to a time when they remember being
Yeah.
in a disco with their tambourine at 17. You know,
Yeah.
so,
Exactly. Yeah.
so
Yeah. You're doing a service.
well, I think it is, especially. I think even more now than it's ever been, really, because
Mm.
it's a pretty gnarly world that we're in at the moment, and getting worse by the week it feels. And so I think healers and people that can bring some kind of good time and can make you travel back to a time where life was a lot simpler, a lot purer, a lot more hopeful, a lot more enjoyable. And still, I think it's really
Mm.
music is an incredible therapy. You can. I used to be a born again Christian back in the day before I saw the light, and it was quite interesting that I really would spend time. Maybe I'd call it meditation now, but praying over which song would I present on Sunday at this particular service. And I was singing all over England. I went to Canada and was singing there as well. Because I wanted that song to mean something to somebody.
Yeah.
And then, when people come out and say, "Do you know what? I've just gone through cancer therapy, or I've just done this, or oh my God, I really was at my wit's end. I thought I was going to take my own life last week, and but these words are so helpful." For me, that was the magic of music. And as an adult, my last studio album was called "Hold On to Me," and I wanted to release songs and write songs that weren't spiritual because not religious because I'm not religious at all, but had a spiritual meaning, was still like a deliverance of good news or a deliverance of something encouraging. So people could go, "I fucking love that, man. That really touched me." And it's great when people get up and dance and, they leaving their walking frames behind, or, young people are going, "Oh man, you're wicked, mate." Do you know what I mean? As they walk past and people stop. And I sung in a shopping centre in London just before I moved to Mexico. And someone, and it's shopping centres sometimes a little bit weird. No one really talks to you. They're all just happy going to buy their underwear or their trainers, and that's kind of it. They walk past you, and you always get a couple of crazes as well. You know, you always get a couple of crazes. And I remember singing, and this middle-ish old lady, mature woman came up to me at the end, and she was just kind of hanging around me, and I'm like, oh, here we go. You know, and I'm like, hey, lovely, are you all right? And she went, yeah. And she couldn't look at me and talk at the same time. And but to cut a very long story short, we eventually got talking, and she hadn't been out of a house. I can't remember what it was now, 15 or 20 years. She'd been agoraphobic. And she'd stepped out of her front door for the first time in all these years. She lived just opposite the shopping centre. She heard someone singing, which was me, obviously, Dance with My Father by Luther Vandross. And that was a song that was played at her father's wedding that she couldn't actually attend because of her agoraphobia. And it made her walk out of her house across the road into a busy shopping centre and come and speak to me. And that's the first time, after years and years of therapy, that she still couldn't, that she heard that song and that drew her out. I was like, completely emotional wreck, mate, more than she was. But it was amazing, just the power of to be able to make someone laugh, cry, dance, you know, all these, you know, is healing.
Yeah, yeah.
We need us oldies to be doing that still.
Totally. And I mean, that's it's those kind of things that I guess remind you of what's important. Yeah, why you're doing it. And yeah, it's very true. I mean, yeah, it's a very strange, uncertain time that we're in globally, but it's been coming for, I mean, you know, I think social media has amplified the bleakness of everything. I mean, I think it's always, ever since I've been a child, there's always been, you know, things going on in the world, but we've now got it completely amplified. And a conversation that I've often been having lately around even just using my social media, whatever, to put, you know, messages or whatever, stories, posts up about music is, do you feel uncomfortable that you're doing this, particularly, you know, of what's going on in the world? And, but my response is usually, well, I mean, I'm really only on social media to promote my music. And also, I think it's a good thing that, you know, music is
different. It's not about a pandemic, about Palestine, about, you know, just something that just takes you away from that.
Yeah, some escape for a moment.
Yeah.
It's really important. Yeah. So I feel like as it's a community service, you know, as we're talking about with experiences like yours, where if you can provide some moment, you know, even if it's a couple of people, you know, and that's the thing I like about, you know, engaging with people more intimately, you know, through just releasing, and then someone can give you, you know, their thoughts on it, or might send you a nice message, you know, then I kind of, yeah, have more belief in it as something that I should be doing.
Stop it, basically. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I think we should make this a 10-yearly event.
Yes. 62 will be my no. Yeah, why not?
Every decade we'll do this.
Are we still doing it?
We'll have like big horn rim glasses on, and
well, I've already got my glasses. I'm just not wearing them. Yeah,
I'll have something holding me chins up. Yours but yeah.
Yes, how much longer can my beard actually be?
When the chin goes under the beard, that's when you got to worry. I'm just keep getting tattoos, so it kind of like shading when it drops.
Yeah, whatever works, you know.
Yeah. Sweeney, thank you so much for being part of my show. People at home, you love him. You're going to go and follow him so you can see running along the screen throughout the whole of this interview where you can find this young man, how to support him on his social media platforms, and where you can download his music. Sweeney, thank you so much for being part of my show.
Thank you, Jaden. It's been a pleasure.
I hope you have a wonderful new day in Australia.
I will.
We'll catch up again soon when your next album comes out, or when something happens. Let me know. Let's get back on the show and let's talk about it.
Yes, if not before 10 years.
Absolutely, no, we'll do it. We'll do that anyway as a little anniversary get together. But anything happens before then, we'll definitely be chatting.
Brilliant. Thank you.
God bless you, Governor. You take good care, and we'll catch up again soon.
See
you later, mate. Bye bye.
Yeah.
But lovely to chat to him. What a super special guy, and I wish him all the luck, success in the universe, especially as he's ancient now. I mean, in his 50s. My goodness. The same age as me. How wonderful, quite frankly. Long may we reign. Anyway, please go and support him. Go and show the old man some love and support on his social media. Go and check him out. Go and download his songs. Go and join his Patreon. Go and check out his social media. Go and show him some love. Thank you so much for being part of my show, Sweeney. And thank you, wonderful kids at home, beautiful people that you are. Thank you for joining me on another wonderful Sunday on the Jaden Show. I hope you've had a spectacular time. I have. And already I'm excited about next week's show as well. Bloody hell. It's amazing, eh? It's as amazing as we make it, quite frankly. Listen, I want to wish you a wonderful new week, a productive and a proactive new week, full of abundance and full of lovely things. I'm going to leave you with another song and video by the man himself. This is called Better Man, and I will see you next week on my show. Stay beautiful. Take care. Goodbye.